Gabby, you beat me to it. That was going to be my next reminder. Thank you. For those that have joined already, we are going to be recording this. So if you have any follow-up or want to send this to other folks on your team or your customers, feel free to do so. And still seeing a couple folks join. Get started at 1:02. All right, let's get started. First of all, thank you for everyone joining and our panelists today. This is the expert breakdown. This is the third webcast in our series. First, Matt Douglas went over our SD-WAN cloud security offering. In the second series, John Lloyd went into detail about our offering with CloudGuard and Check Point, and today we're lucky enough to have all three panelists join us for a Q&A, of which love to get questions from the audience and the attendees, but also I've got some trick questions and some probing questions for the group. For those in the audience, a couple housekeeping items. Please feel free to type any questions in the Q&A box that you have. I will attempt to field those calls or those questions and present them back to the team and to the right person. As well as, if you want to get the full experience, click on the upper right-hand corner. There's a small circle where you can move it into grid mode and get the Brady Bunch style panelist view. I don't know for the panelists whether who's going to be to your, above you and below you, and whether you'll be able to do that whole thing. But just, I guess, look into the camera. So with that, let me make some introductions. My name is Rob Messmer. I'm the Sales Vice President and Channel Chief here at CBTS. Very excited to have our panelists here. We are very excited about our Check Point offering in this space. It's already, we're already responding to bids from customers, RFPs, and the demand is there. And so this is very exciting for us, and really want to have probing questions so that our trusted advisors in the field are very well equipped with how CBTS and Check Point are going to market with this strategy. So let's start with quick introductions, and I'll go to my left to right. So John Lloyd, if you don't mind giving a little bit of an overview of who you are, your background, and your favorite color.
Yeah, absolutely. So favorite color is red. Let's knock the easy one out of the gate. As Rob said, my name is John Lloyd. I've been with CBTS for 8 years. Came through the kind of more sales engineering side of the organization, and for the last 2 years have been running our cloud networking practice. So I have responsibility for operations, implementation, engineering, research and development, productization, et cetera, for a myriad of concepts, which right now totals about 9 different products in the catalog, the newest of which is our Check Point offering. So very excited to talk about kind of really the gap that we saw, not only in the SD-WAN market, but the gap we saw in the cloud security market, and how we're using Check Point to close both of those gaps with one offering.
Awesome. Matt Douglas?
Sure, absolutely.
Why don't you give some background and what your favorite sporting event is on the planet?
The favorite sporting event? Well, that's fishing, but I don't know if you consider fishing a sporting event, but I'll stick with fishing. My name's Matt Douglas. I've been with CBTS now for about 12 years. First came to CBTS when they purchased a small CLEC in Indiana that I was part of. So it's been a great run here at CBTS. I've had a variety of different roles, managed our UCaaS platform for a while, but for the last 6 years, if you would, I've been managing our solutions engineering group. And so my group of sales engineers support, partners in the field with solutions like this. I'll echo John's excitement about this checkpoint announcement because this has been something we've been hearing about in the field and people have been asking us going back starting probably 18 months ago. So it's very exciting to bring this product. We've had a lot of opportunities already quoting it. So I'm kind of excited to kind of get some feedback and some thoughts here on the panel. Thank you.
Great. And last but not least, Marco Garcia. Why don't you give us a little bit overview of your background with Check Point and what is your favorite song to play on that guitar behind you?
Well, the favorite song to play on that guitar, that will be a song that my daughter likes, which is a Spanish song, but it's translated a little bit into English, Despacito. So she likes to listen me to play that song for some reason. But going into a little bit about me, I've been with Check Point for 8 years. I manage the global engineering and architecture organization, working with service providers to create offering and service delivery practices, as well as supporting the pre-sales and the growth of the business organization. So very excited to be here. Very excited of the partnership with CBTS and the joint offering that we have together. So thank you for having me here.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks for attending. I'll start with John. John, talk a little bit about why CBTS and Check Point decided to partner on this solution as a go-to-market.
So from the CBTS side, right, one of the strengths what we kind of pride ourselves on is really not coming in with a solution in mind when we engage with a customer. So being consultative, but also understanding how our customers want to do business. And it's not a one-size-fits-all. So when you work with CBTS, we kind of bring that background, but with the agility of an actual managed service provider. So we don't say, this is our offering, take it or leave it, and you better conform your network. We understand that each network is going to be different and it's going to be unique. And a lot of times we don't look to necessarily connect people or connect buildings, but to deliver business outcomes. What are you trying to accomplish with your network? And that involves a lot of different formulas and it involves a customized approach. With Check Point, we're able to do that because whether you're looking to protect the software-defined perimeter, right? If you're looking for a SASE, we have that with the Connect product. If you're looking for protecting the endpoint and the user with as applications move to the cloud and you're looking for that CASB approach, we have that with CloudGuard SaaS. If you're looking for maybe something locally at the data center, we have the Check Point physical hardware lineup that's still managed from that same centralized control plane. So I'm sure we'll talk about some competitors in this space today, but with the other competitors in what we consider the cloud security space, you kind of have to decide or choose what is a security approach you're going to take. Do you want to be completely on-prem and you have to VPN into the network to manage it like some other providers? Do you want to be cloud only and you don't have the option for on-prem? Do you want to have to install complex configurations on every laptop in your network? We look at the Check Point formula as one centralized management plane, one pane of glass, and we can deliver the exact same experience on that fully managed OpEx model, but really be able to curtail and take all of the pieces of Check Point to build a customized solution that's still the same ease that you would expect from traditional SD-WAN networks. We're taking that ease into the complex security space.
Okay. Anything to add to that, Matt or Marco? I think one of the questions a lot of people ask, and Marco, maybe you could field this, and John, you alluded to it, is the competitors in the space, right? There's quite a lot of movement in the security OEM environment. Marco, you've been with Check Point for 8 years. Why do you remain there, and what do you see as different from Check Point from some of your competitors?
Well, in Check Point, we have focused mainly on prevention to begin, to give you the ability to stop a threat before it gets into your organization. That is the focus from the Check Point perspective. Now we have grabbed that concept into delivering prevention as a service in a cloud delivery method to provide the solution to multiple use cases, like what John was mentioning. Provide solutions for like a SASE, provide solutions for SD-WAN security, provide remote access connectivity and multiple point solutions that make it different than the different competitors in the market. Many competitors are focused on the detection side of or the business only, which we also do as well. But we are very focused on providing you the ability to block those threats before they get into your organization. And then for service providers and for the customers itself to meet the use cases like what John is mentioning. You want to go into a cloud delivery gateway model with a SASE. We provide you the gateway as a service, and we can also provide you API-based protection for email security. So all in all, provide you the best prevention in an easy-to-consume method from our side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And Matt, maybe you could kind of touch on, Marco brought up, the look into and focus on prevention, but he also mentioned service providers. And I know that's been instrumental in how we roll this out to the channel, because
Sure.
It's great to have a technology, but can you talk about what benefit this brings the channel, and, probably talk a little bit about how it interweaves with the success we've seen with SD-WAN.
Oh, absolutely. We started seeing this interest in this going back, I mentioned earlier, about 18 months ago. So we would be in the field and we would be presenting SD-WAN and how we would, integrate SD-WAN with your existing firewalls at a location or branch or data center. And people started asking about what about cloud security, right? And there's a couple of competitors. One of the big ones out there that begins with a Z that we've heard about. And so this interest has been starting to swell, right? This idea too, when we talk to our customers out there, particularly in SD-WAN fabric, John mentioned earlier the idea of business outcomes. And what we're really seeing is that how are people building a network of clouds? Because applications are moving to the cloud. All of us, we're working from home right now, right? So I think for us, what we see this, and John mentioned a little bit of it earlier, is the flexibility of the Check Point fabric, if you would, for a customer to build solutions. This fabric, whether we're talking about having secure cloud for your SD-WAN domain, if you would, whether we're talking about instances of a data center, maybe you've got inbound traffic at data center, or then our work from home, our mobile workforce as we're moving out there. So this really, the story of security now, people are starting to look to the SD-WAN provider of also integrating a full suite of security services there. And Check Point's done a great job. I mean, one of the things that you mentioned, kind of why we chose to partner with Check Point, you go back the last 15 years and look at Gartner or Frost & Sullivan, Check Point is always up in the upper right hand. They're one of the big three names out there in their ability to really deliver the kinds of tools people are expecting today in next generation security fabric. So I think for us in the channel, the big benefit is now we're bringing a very robust environment that can support not only the data center, branch, cloud, mobile workforce, a lot of variety of different tools, and we've got an integrated solution now in SD-WAN fabric.
Yeah, I don't mean to get too deep or tactical, but I think one of the things that has resonated already is the pricing model. Can you talk a little bit about the pricing model flexibility?
Oh, absolutely. For one, I think Check Point has done a great job realizing that this product, traditionally, the cloud products that we've seen have been built and priced for the enterprise market, for the kind of Fortune 500, Fortune 2000 space. And those people don't mind writing a check, right? They're used to writing a big check. But you start to bring this product or these solution sets down more into the mid-market, into companies in the 500, let's say, to 5,000 employee range, or even less, right? You got to start to meet some price points and some flexibility. And so I think Check Point's done a great job of building a great product at a price point that is a little easier to absorb in the mid-market space. That's one. The other is you can actually consume this cloud product in two different pricing models. Either by megabit, you buy how much megabit you need. Like if you're buying at a data center, if I had a firewall at a data center, I'm going to supply it with 100 meg, 200 meg, a gigabit. You buy a certain amount of internet that you need out of your cloud firewall. That's one pricing model. The other model is just by user. And so maybe you're in an environment where you've got a lot of locations, but you've got maybe 3 users everywhere, but we need a certain amount of bandwidth. We can price this out in the per user as well. So we're very flexible kind of to give that high quality product, a cloud-based security product, but also be able to deliver it at a great price and be able to use a couple of different pricing models depending on what fits for your organization. So flexibility, again, I think you've heard that from this CloudGuard product, this suite of, whether it's CASB, protecting the cloud, whether it's a cloud-based firewall, the data centers, this flexibility is pretty impressive.
Yeah, you mentioned work from home. John, can you maybe give, I know you've seen use cases from a lot of different parts of our organization since releasing this product. What are some of the work from home, things that get you excited with this offering that allows us and our partners to bring to customers?
Yeah, so I think, I kind of talked about how each business has unique needs, right? Now work from home is another layer that maybe didn't exist in the past. So I typically look at a security profile of a customer has 4 main pillars, and that's how do I protect what I would consider my roaming user? That's the person that works at Starbucks or Panera under normal circumstances, maybe your road warriors that are always traveling. How do I keep them protected? The next phase is now where we're at with work from home, which is this is a brick and mortar, it's a locked, physical space that's not moving. And so how do I deliver a much more reliable experience, right? How do I extend the network to the home rather than connecting the user back to the network at home as if they were at Starbucks? Then you get to the branch. How do I protect all my branches? And that's our SD-WAN and CloudGuard Connect story. And then how do I protect my data center? And that's the Check Point Quantum line story that we have all pitched in. So Check Point's the logo. It's the management plane that can provide for all of those. Specifically to when I'm working from home, the ability of Check Point, we keep coming back to flexibility. One of the things that you gain with Check Point is that we're focused on your security. We have a great story to tell with your SD-WAN and how we can provide all of this. So a work from home solution with, say, a VeloCloud SD-WAN deployment where I'm putting a VeloCloud Edge with built-in LTE at my house. So now I've got my Spectrum or Comcast or Cox, whatever my home employee has, that's coming in today. But that's oversaturated. I'm battling with video game bandwidth. I'm battling with no SLA on the circuit. And I've moved mission critical business applications home. I've sent my call centers home. I've sent 100% of my workforce home. So what happens when that internet circuit is saturated midday? Or what happens when that internet circuit goes down or the landscapers are trenching and they go too deep and cut that cord? So having that VeloCloud Edge that has a built-in LTE gives me survivability of my network. The next piece is how do I tie it in? We saw the number one struggle I saw when we went to work from home was my physically defined hardware data center security footprint can't handle it. My VPN concentrators are not sized for 100% of work from home. My internet back into my data center isn't sized for it. And we've seen all these people, and I'm sure as we've talked with our customers in the channel, you've heard Matt's great story about applications leaving the network and moving out to the cloud. We saw that one of the only applications, for the most part, a lot of customers were only coming back to the data center for security. That was it. We were just taking internet bandwidth to hit a firewall or VPN concentrator and going back out. And so now by utilizing Check Point, we have that ability that we can deliver that same security, whether it's off of a SD-WAN deployment, like a work from home device like VeloCloud, or the roaming user, just a client that runs on your device, whether it's a bring your own device, whether it's a company supplied device. I now can supply that same control, that same security without taxing my resources. And Matt mentioned the flexible buying model. So I can say per user, and I can add users, and I can shrink users, and I can be adaptive to my footprint. And we talk about VeloCloud because of the fact that it has the Velo gateways to quickly be able to tie in back to your data center without needing a VeloCloud front end, and as well as being able to provide path protection to the gateway before it hands it off to the Check Point SASE. But it doesn't need to be VeloCloud. And I think that's another thing we talk about, kind of going back to why we partner with Check Point. In this space, you've seen, Matt mentioned the big Z in the room, who's basically kind of anti-SD-WAN. We've seen other OEMs purchasing smaller SD-WAN companies and now trying to build a better together story of you have to get this and you have to get this one. And we've seen a lot of OEMs over the years fail at doing that. They get out of what they do well and they try to be everything to everybody. And Check Point is an IPsec tunnel. Out of the box integration with VeloCloud, with Silver Peak, with Aruba, with Viptela, with Meraki, or just a regular IPsec tunnel. You've got a router and an IP address and we build a tunnel. And I think that flexibility when I start to go to work from home being able to adapt to whatever that business need is. If it's getting a physical piece of hardware and easily deploying VeloCloud to Check Point. If you say we're already a Silver Peak customer, we've already made a different SD-WAN strategy, am I tied to that decision? And the answer with Check Point is no, you're not tied to what you may have decided a year ago or 2 years ago. You're tied to what is the outcome that you're looking for. And so with Check Point, we provide security for the home user in multiple different ways, whatever works best for the business.
Yeah, it makes sense. When, Matt, let's talk tactically about, I think one of the things we're seeing these discussions happen naturally with our partners, with their customers, is they might be involved in an SD-WAN discussion first, and then the topic of security comes up as they make that evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one way that these conversations happen. Talk about how a partner may position this, or even open the discussion with a customer who feels like, hey, I've already got Palo Alto, or I've already got a firewall solution in place. How do they start to have the discussion around Check Point and maybe going the other way with starting with the firewall?
Sure. What I think the security conversation is getting easier to start with. People, like we had a meeting this morning with a global company, about 50 locations globally. They are looking at both SD-WAN and security. Now, the conversation did start with security first. Did start with SD-WAN first. But the moment we asked the question on security, they were open immediately to, well, what are your suggestions? What do you have? Whereas a year ago, 18 months ago, you might ask that additional question of security and they'd be like, nope, we've already made our decision. We already have our platform. We're not making any changes. So I think the landscape has changed a lot, where it's easier for partners to be asking their customers, not only what are you doing on SD-WAN, but what are you doing on the security front? Then the security question with tools like this, with the Check Point suite, where we talk about the ability to either protect that mobile worker or work from home, be able to have a cloud, version for your SD-WAN cloud, and then be able to have pieces at a data center to protect inbound, public-facing inbound resources they might have at a data center. This flexibility, like on our phone call this morning with this global company, was pretty impressive. They were impressed with the fact that we could address these things. And I'm proud of our CBTS team as well, that we're able to bring the subject matter experts. In this case, this morning, we actually brought a Check Point resource in as well, and started having a conversation with them about, okay, here's where you think you're going. Now let's talk about your applications. Where do your applications reside, right? Which of your applications do we need to protect at the data center? What do we need to protect that might be SaaS applications, Office 365, Salesforce, these kinds of things. So I think it's kind of a long-winded answer. One, I believe it's much easier for partners now to ask the question, are you willing to look at a new security fabric, and a security fabric that includes cloud resources? And the answer increasingly is absolutely. We'd like to find out more about that. And Check Point has positioned themselves now to be a leader in that space. So I think whether you open up with SD-WAN or you open up with security, we're now all moving this conversation to, kind of to the SASE, right? To the the secure access edge, if you would, and what those services that hang around that. So it's getting easier and easier to open up the security question.
Okay. Marco, let's maybe dig in, and if you want to punt to John or Matt on this, feel free. But how does, let's get tactical on SaaS applications. How does this protect SaaS for customers?
In two ways. So we were able to provide SaaS security in an in-network connectivity approach. So when you are connecting to the SaaS application, we can provide a security on that connection going across the network. So what I mean is your endpoint users are going to Office 365 and G Suite. You can provide that URL filter and even SSL inspection in between as a man in the middle pipe on the connectivity that is going through those SaaS applications. However, we do realize sometimes that the customers might want a more integrated approach to secure things like email, for example, like Office 365 and G Suite email. The platform also provides the capability to inspect the data on the SaaS applications via API integrations that we have done. So to go a little bit deeper in the technology side, right, we were able to go into Office 365 and G Suite and tie into your application and start inspecting the data that is coming on within the email, and even provide like DLP, threat extraction, clearing the documents from threats right away before they hit the users. So in a two-factor approach, in-network and API-based security, we provide a complete end-to-end security solution for the customers with our CloudGuard platform.
Okay. Where is this stuff located? Right, customers are pushing the threat into the outside their walls with the cloud-based security. Where is that located? How does it look internationally?
Well, that's a great question. So we have locations all over the world. We have signed partnerships with two of the largest cloud providers worldwide, in which we run our infrastructure on top. So pretty much wherever you find a point of presence from the major cloud providers worldwide, you're going to find a point of presence of connectivity with a cloud security application. So if you are, for example, in the West Coast, you can connect to an East Coast POP location, which will provide you the lower latency. The same thing if you are an international customer and need a point of presence in Canada, for example, right? You can create that connection directly to the Canadian point of presence in order to give you the best latency situation. So our infrastructure has been built pretty much with flexibility in mind to account any scenario around the world where customers might want to create that connectivity method.
Okay, great.
Hey, Rob, I want to add something to that, in that you kind of mentioned it here, this idea that you are now moving your threat plane away from your front door. When you've got internet access coming into firewalls at your front door, your threat plane, the bad guys think of you as your building. With a cloud-based solution, you're actually moving that day zero threat plane to the cloud. And not only is the threat plane moving farther away, but because of the engine, if you would, the Check Point is built, now we've got quicker response. A threat happens out there in the cloud, and now as soon as that's recognized for one user, that gets applied for everybody. And so there's a lot of benefit I don't think we've talked about yet, that the fact that your threat cloud's moved away and the response to day zero now happens quicker for you, where in the past I had to manage 10, 20, 30, 50 firewalls in my environment and make sure they have all the right images, and when one threat happens, when are they all going to be updated? That's completely changed in this new paradigm of moving these security services and that response up into the cloud.
How does that work, Matt, with site to site? If you've pushed the threat plane out, are you just trusting that your own internal sites are communicating securely, or do you want to also protect that traffic?
I think it goes back to, again, the consultative approach and the tool sets that are available in the Check Point world. That's part of the conversation we had this morning with this global customer I was talking about. Because if you think about, let's say if this is my SD-WAN cloud and I've got locations, branches hanging off of that, am I confident enough that between site to site, I'm going to trust traffic in my own network? That's one position that many customers take, right? In that situation, a cloud-only environment is just fine. Now, Check Point also allows us to drop those edge devices in, either physical devices or VNFs that sit inside the SD-WAN, in this case, a VeloCloud appliance. And so I think that really just goes back. We've got to talk to a customer, bring the kind of consulting that John talked about. It's not one size fits all. We bring our subject matter experts in, meet with their security people, understand where their applications are, where they think their risks are, and what do they want to protect. And if they have a big need for taking a look and inspecting site-to-site traffic, then there are deployment models that we can fit with Check Point's set of tools. Okay.
Give me another use case, John. I think you kind of alluded to this earlier, but I think of Wi-Fi internet access, guest Wi-Fi internet access, as with the old model of let me back, if I've got 10 sites, let me backhaul everything back to headquarters where I've got this massive firewall and massive internet connection. Everything's hub and spoked. What about guest Wi-Fi? You kind of had to either siphon that off, or now that's going in your network. Talk about how that works with CloudGuard.
Yeah, so there's two main concepts that we have to understand of how CloudGuard gets traffic, how we elect what we want to send to it. And they're both vitally important to how people have networked in the past. So the first is to understand that it is not a proxy. So a lot of large enterprise strategic approach was always a proxy. I would go into the device itself and I would put a proxy in that says, before you can go to the internet, you have to go to this, right? You have to go to this IP address where I'm inspecting it. And that's been a large approach to wide area networks really before the software-defined perimeter became as abundant as it is. The problem to that is you're putting it in at the host level. So I'm telling Rob Messmer's PC that that's where it needs to go. Doesn't mean that Rob Messmer's not bringing in another device and plugging it into the network, like his home PC or phone and things like that. So the first thing is the concept of, by building an IPsec tunnel from the edge, let's take a generic router for right now. I've got a router at the edge and I build an IPsec tunnel to CloudGuard Connect. That's not a proxy statement that's being put on each individual users. Anybody plugs anything in behind that, say a printer. These are really big attack vectors because people don't patch software on printers in the network, and typically the IT staffs aren't monitoring them as closely because printers aren't going out to these applications, and these are big attack vulnerabilities. So by creating this catch-all at the edge that says anything that gets plugged in behind this router is going to go to CloudGuard Connect. That's the first thing that's a big shift versus, say, a proxy. The second thing is, to your point, maybe I don't want everything that gets plugged in behind this to go to CloudGuard Connect. Maybe I am, say, a retail branch and I offer guest Wi-Fi. I'm Starbucks and I offer guest Wi-Fi. I want that experience to not be limited. We choose which subnets we're going to advertise across that IPsec tunnel to CloudGuard. So on a generic router, we say we're going to send our corporate traffic. We're not going to send voice, right? Our voice already has a TLS encryption. I don't want to send voice over IP through a firewall and through additional internet hops. I want to go directly to my carrier. We've got a voice VLAN we can send that way. The next phase, once we understand, okay, we're not doing a proxy, we're securing everything, and we're choosing which subnets to put in there, the next phase is really the why SD-WAN layered in with Check Point CloudGuard Connect. And that is layer 3, or the subnet, isn't enough anymore. Most of our organizations we talk to, if you say, what's your voice VLAN, they're going to say, a lot of people don't really have phones. They're using voice clients on their PC, and they're living in the data VLAN. Or maybe they want to allow some fun things in the network. They want to allow Pandora streaming radio and things like this in their corporate subnet, but they also don't, Matt mentioned, you buy a certain amount of internet. We don't want to send that through CloudGuard. And so as we layer in a VMware SD-WAN with VeloCloud, we actually can start to make those decisions no longer by layer 3 or subnet, but literally by application. So we can say, this is a voice application living in the corporate subnet, and I'm supposed to send the corporate subnet to Check Point. I'm not going to do that, however, with this voice application or WebEx, right? Things that are real-time applications. So we start to get that granular approach. So the simple answer to your question is I can send guest Wi-Fi directly out and not put it into the Check Point tunnel, but maybe I do want to send certain things. Maybe I say I want to send guest Wi-Fi through here, but the most commonly used thing is guest Wi-Fi is going to use Netflix. I'm not going to send that to Check Point. So I can secure that without the need of my AP locally, but still not max the traffic out.
Yep.
I'll add to that too, real quick, is that CBTS, one of our strengths is about kind of consulting with the customer, finding out some of these needs, into those needs. And so what made me think of that, how I got there with when John was talking, is that in particular, the VMware VeloCloud SD-WAN fabric also supports a multi-segment approach. And so that same customer I was talking about this morning, we were talking about their PCI traffic and how we were going to move that differently inside their network in a separate secure segment as compared to their guest Wi-Fi, as compared to their regular surfing traffic. So these are all the abilities that combining particular VeloCloud, SD-WAN and Check Point that we can design to. But that really goes back to how John opened this up, and that we've got a number of set of tools that we can bring together to help build business outcomes our customers are looking for, and Check Point now expands that on the security side.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you mentioned, kind of the advantages of CBTS and the service provider. So Marco, in a moment, I'll give you a little time to think about this, but kind of your take on the service provider market as a go-to-market like CBTS. But before we get there, Matt and John, we've talked about how we're really weaving, not always, but CloudGuard Connect, through CBTS can stand on its own, or it can be coupled with SD-WAN. Obviously, we've got UCaaS and voice services. And so these things are, as we are consultative with our partners to their customers, they're being pulled together. I do get questions from partners that say, well, wait a minute, I just want to make sure, is my customer calling Check Point for repair? Who, if something goes wrong in the night, is their who supports this? So, can you kind of reinforce for our partners, where that's supported, what levels it's supported, and how a customer gets resolution, and quite frankly, obviously, I'm teeing this up because the advantage is that a lot of that can be put under one roof of CBTS.
Yeah, there's a lot of advantages that we bring, aside from the one back to Pat approach of you make one phone call, and whether it's an issue with your voice, an issue with your network as a service, your SD-WAN as a service, or your Check Point as a service, it's all going through our 24/7 support desk. So the first value CBTS brings, that support desk is 24/7, and it's all CBTS employees. That is not offshore, near sourcing, outsourcing. That is our W-2 employees. And that is a actual group with escalation paths that our customers get access to through the onboarding. And so really treating you like a customer and not like a number. I always tell the customers I talk with what we've been able to do with Check Point, what we've been able to do with Bellow Cloud is unhandcuff them from the giant telco, the giant conglomerate that says, what else are you going to do about it? For once, they have to come and earn the business, because what these new technologies allow customers to do is be able to expand. It doesn't need to be all or nothing. It doesn't need to be, well, because you're on net to my circuit, you have to get my SD-WAN. It doesn't have to be, well, because you bought my SD-WAN, you have to buy my cloud security. And what that does is really keep us honest from a services standpoint. Then how we integrate to our OEMs, what's really important about that is we provide tiers 1 and 2 of support through our help desk. We then have a tier 3 escalation path, which is my core team. So our engineers that are at the highest level, that are developing the products, that are doing the testing and the research and development. And then we rely on TAC. And the TAC is a 24/7 follow the sun approach from Check Point, as well as from our VMware partnership. So what that enables us to do is get directly to highest levels of support, because we've done the preliminary, is the light blinking, so to say, testing. And we're able to not only do those parts, but when Check Point TAC gets a case from us, and it's got clear notes with a clearly defined problem statement with what steps have already been taken of what we, suggestions we think it may be, we get the highest level of attention, because it's not kicking off at the enterprise down to the lowest level going, it's not working, right? That's the hardest problem statement to resolve. By the time we engage Check Point TAC, we've got a clearly defined problem statement and test path to success.
Yeah, and that's, it's interesting. Thank you for laying that out. A lot of our partners say, hey, what about this technology or this OEM? And it's not as easy as just saying, let's just offer that technology. As a full service, we want to make sure, obviously, that we're supporting it. We're able to take repair calls. We're able to, as you said, very quickly resolve issues with a knowledge base that's onshore 24/7, and have the situational expertise to very quickly get that resolved with our OEM. So as we roll out a product like this, it's not just the technology that stands as best of breed, it's the teams and support and the customer focus that we bring, so that our partners are heroes when they bring this technology to their customers.
Rob, I can add, let me add just a little bit to that. I mean, Right now we're VeloCloud, VMware's reigning partner of the year. We've had 500 customers, 5,000 installations, and we're gonna try and do the same thing with Check Point. What's been different about us, there's other places to buy these solutions. And I think what I'm most proud of in CBTS really is this end-to-end approach, from design, from deployment, day two. We've been doing this a while. We've got a backbone as a service provider that knows how to deliver mission critical services. And we've kind of taken that backbone and brought it now into SD-WAN and now into security. So we're becoming known in the channel for our ability to deliver. One of the biggest masters out there has asked us in this last 12 months, we've been brought into 3 different situations where another partner has completely screwed up a VeloCloud installation, and we've come in to pick up those pieces. So this idea of partnership, it is more than just technology. We're looking at for relationships to last a decade with a customer. And so you got to do the right design, the right deployment, the right day two. And the last thing I'll throw on there too is we haven't mentioned it so far, but any of these solutions, particularly on the VeloCloud and Check Point side, we support co-management. You're not just buying a black box that you can't touch, from one of the big carriers, right? You're coming from a company that's large enough to matter, but right-sized enough to be flexible, and then even delivering these services in a co-managed approach. So.
And I think it's important to note as you pass over to Marco to talk about the service provider relationship, Matt talked about how important it is to have that experience and be that trusted, we're going to deliver. We were first to market with VeloCloud. We're the first service provider to market now with Check Point and the CloudGuard Connect. We aren't following the herd. We aren't sitting there going, we lost a deal to technology X, Y, or Z, so let's bring it into our portfolio, right? We've been doing 10 months of R&D working hand in hand with the Check Point team and our engineers and with VeloCloud. And we have a punch list of things that we drove to satisfaction over those 10 months. Gaps in the product offering, maybe bug fixes that we've found, and worked hand in hand with both VMware and Check Point to be able to develop that solution. So by the time we hit market, it's because it's the right technology for our customers. We think it creates a differentiator for not only us, but for our partners as well. And we have full confidence in it. We don't sit back and say, let's wait and see where this goes. In the early days of SD-WAN, every different carrier chose a horse, right? And now a lot of them have circled back and said, okay, well, we made the wrong bet early on. We picked the wrong horse out of the gate. We stood by our decision to partner with VeloCloud, and 3 years later, Gartner came out with their first report that echoed where we had already decided and found 3 years earlier through our own due diligence. That same approach is taken here. So when we bring Check Point to market, it's not because it's a SKU we looked at and said that seems interesting. It's because of our intimate partnership and our intimate knowledge that we're able to do so and create that difference.
Yeah, and John, you use this term a lot, which is skinned knees. So as partners evaluate which service providers have the competency, you've talked about it, that for 10 months we've been working on R&D, and as we believe, more service providers will follow our path with Check Point. We're going to have our skin knees will be calloused over, and we'll be the experts and have already seen those gotchas for our customers because of the early R&D we've done. So Marco, we've talked about how great we think CBTS is. So feel free to continue talking about how CBTS is great, but I say that tongue in cheek.
CBTS is great. He's been a great partner.
Thank you. Talk a little bit about how Check Point views the service providers in this space, because it's a little different than selling hardware firewalls back in the day.
That is for sure. So Check Point has evolved into different pillars of the business. We do have the enterprise space, which we have sellers that focus on individual accounts, from like the commercial side to like the Fortune 100, 200s to global accounts. And we have also created an organization which is dedicated and focused to the needs of the service providers itself. And what we are looking at from that space is to create joint partnerships like what we're doing with CBTS to allow our technology to provide services that can be monetized by our partners. to create services that can bring value to your customers and solve industry needs, like for example, SD-WAN security, SASE, email security from Office 365, G Suite, cloud security, and detection and response capabilities. All of it packaged up in a way that can be consumed by the service provider and deliver a service to their customers itself. So from the Check Point side, we see the service provider space as a key pillar from our side, and we have actually carved it out as a different business unit and division that is focused on making these partnerships grow and successful, like what we're doing together.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's it. We're going to wrap up. Any closing comments, Matt Douglas? Or sorry, I'll leave it on Marco since we've got him front and center.
For us, no, the partnership with CBTS has been amazing. No, I think we have some of the best of breed products in the market together, and solutions that we cover many needs for many enterprises that are out there, and definitely looking forward to growing this partnership even farther as much as we can take it. But thank you for having me here.
Yeah, thanks, Marco. Matt, any closing comments?
You mentioned earlier about our mission, which is to make partners heroes. And it might sound a little corny, but every time we have a team, we go through that. That's our first slide that we talk about as a group, is that our job is to make partners heroes. When we do that, we want to be the right fit. And so feel confident that you can bring I and our team in and our other subject matter experts, but we'll also be the first to tell you, you know what, we're not the right fit here. And it happens to us. So I want to let you guys know that, one, we care about you guys as partners, and two, we do care about what's the right solution for a customer. We're not like your typical big box folks where we're going to come in one size fits all and we're going to shove it down your throat. If we're the right fit, we're going to be excited. If we're not the right fit, we're going to help you find something else. So thanks for this opportunity here today, and feel free to get a hold of I or my staff if you got any questions. Great,
thanks, Matt. Is that a rocking chair, by the way, that you're in?
No, it's kind of a wingback chair from my dining room.
Oh, okay.
You're too much.
Mike, we're going to get some Werther's originals that you can hand out to the audience.
Oh, Robbie.
John Lloyd, closing comments.
Yeah, so in closing, one, I just assumed Matt was crocheting a blanket in his lap this whole time in the meeting. I'll make sure I close on that.
You boys.
So what we do and what we deliver for our partners, aside from all the great service and other stuff that Matt hit on, we take complex technologies, we simplify them. We take OEMs that we're used to selling the box and it being sometimes at odds with our channel partners, and we create field alignment, and we create a monthly reoccurring revenue model out of a physical piece of hardware that used to be a traditional VAR distribution bill of material sale. This is continuing down that same path. So the same products that we've brought to market before in a fixed OpEx, easily consumable MRR model, we're taking the physical security out of the box, the hardware-defined network that says I need this much throughput, this much licensing. And I think it's important to stress to our partner community that this is Check Point's focus as well. I actually just got off a QBR on the business side with our Check Point team, and they are driving at and pushing towards strategic revenue of the Infinity product line and the Check Point product line, which is really what we're bringing to market here. And so you have complete field alignment, not only with CBTS and our channel team, but with Check Point and the mission of what they're trying to go do, and their field sellers as well. So there's an opportunity to tap into these resources, to partner with local Check Point reps, to partner with the CBTS channel team, but really to not only create new revenue or new leads, but to go in as a partnership. Matt mentioned today on a call with a partner and the end customer, we had Check Point side by side with us. So this isn't a, if the customer likes Check Point, they have to decide how they want to buy it and from who. This is we think Check Point's going to meet their need. We don't care how you buy it, and we just want to be able to deliver that flexibility. So I think that's important to understand. Tag this as the new product in that same traditional line that you're used to partnering with us around voice, around network as a service, around SD-WAN. We're going to bring flexibility. We're going to bring pre-sales expertise. We're going to bring build expertise. We're going to bring run expertise, and we're going to bring a great relationship with the OEM.
Yeah, field alignment as well, as you mentioned, so that checkpoint rep is rowing in their direction. Thank you, everybody. This is going to be recorded. Gabby will send that out. And if you have any questions, please feel free to follow up with me or your channel manager, and we'll get back to you as soon as you hit us up. So with that, John, Matt, Marco, thank you. Gabby, excellent job preparing this as always. So
Thank you.
thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.